The fastest way to lose a potential client, talk too much. The fastest way to build trust, get curious. You'll often hear me say or be told that curiosity is one of my best business skills. Why is this so powerful, and why do you want to learn how to do it? Because when you are curious, first of all, people love to talk about themselves. It gives you openings potentially for how you can help them if it's appropriate, and you learn about your business. I want to tell you what happened recently for me just by being curious and listening, even more than I spoke. When you ask the right questions and you listen, you can develop your future offers. So I built the Marketing Momentum Collective. It's my free community on School. I'd love for you to join us. And I was in many networking events. That is how it came about, where people were telling me that, Elizabeth, my coaches are telling me that I need to network. And I go to all these networking meetings, but I have no more calls on my books, or I'm not getting sales. What can I do about this? And that's when I ask, or I have asked those people in particular, well, are you making an offer? Are you following up? And are you asking them questions about themselves? And then there's silence. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, we are talking about our kids are going to university. Maybe that's the conversation. Like, how do I bring that to my offer? In my case, done for you marketing offer, perhaps, or my community, if I want them to join. How do I bring that when we are talking about a common interest of our kids over to an offer? Well, if the conversation is going well, and that point of talking about the kids who are going to university kind of is like been done in the conversation, why don't you get curious and say, hey, do you have your own business? In my case, that makes sense. Or let's say you're a health coach and you have a meal plan offer that you've just built out, or I don't know, a meal planning community where you prep together and you have the meal plans and you teach a little bit about, balanced food for whatever if they're diabetic, or they're trying to lose weight, or they're menopause, whatever group you have and you're trying to do it. So let's say I'm that person, a health coach, nutrition coach, and I'm having that conversation about our kids are in university. Well, why don't you take it to, hey, do you ever meal plan? And I ask this because you don't mention your offer. It's something that I'm really trying to be more mindful about these days. And I'm looking for people who are doing this actively. See how that curiosity can, if they say yes, okay, you have a little bit of a conversation. You say, well, actually, I'm really excited because I've been building out this group. And before you spam them with links, I always ask permission. Or before you go over to the DMs. And sometimes doing it in the comments is even more powerful because other people will see and chime in and say, hey, can I also click this link? Yes, you may. Hey, I'm also interested. Okay. So there is pros and cons for being in the DMs and being visible, all because you were curious. You asked the question. So I want to think of a conversation that I recently had, or I want to tell you about it, where I just asked one good question and it completely changed the outcome. My go-to question is, do you have your own business? And then I ask, what are your goals? So when someone joins my community, I welcome them and I say, or I ask, what are your goals? Do you want to be more visible? Do you want to be more consistent? Like, what do you want to work on? Do you want more accountability? How can I serve you in this community? So they're already a little bit warm at this point, but I don't know them necessarily. And from that one question, I have had so many calls. I call them strategy prescription calls. It's a discovery call, but really I repackaged that. So here's another point, is because I'm curious, I repackaged it to say, hey, what's one issue in your marketing that you're having? Let's talk it through for 30 minutes. It's free. And we're going to get you some clear next steps. I'm very intentional. That's my word of 2026. I'm very intentional in that I want them to get a win. I want them to experience me, and I can learn more about their business and they can learn a little bit more about me. And if it makes sense at the end, just like I would in a conversation that was going this way, because it is a conversation, I would say, hey, did you know that I could help you with this? Would you like some more information? Again, they're giving permission. Yes. I'd love to hear that. Okay. And then I have chocolate and vanilla offers. That is not my term. That is from a mentor. But what that means is, I have a school community that is free where you can practice your habits. But if you want to take it further and grow faster with some relationship marketing systems, I have proven the systems, and, I can tell them a little bit about how I organically grew my group from 0 to over 100 in around the 6-week mark, which is, I was hustling for that, but I really wanted to do it without paying for ads, just having conversations. Then we start that conversation if it makes sense. Or maybe they're in a place where they need done for you marketing services, and I offer that. So in your back pocket, you should have no more than 2 offers, maybe 3 in mind when you're having these types of calls. And then you pull out, I personally think you should do this one, but I also have this, and it sounds like that might align as well. Which would you prefer? And that's how using that conversation, you're asking the one good question, and that can completely change the outcome of me just giving them advice to me getting them in my world even closer. So to me, 3 questions that every business owner should ask instead of jumping into your pitch would be like, take it slow. Take the next step. I don't have specific questions, but more along the lines of, what do we have in common? Talk about that. Ask a question related to what you do. So in the example, we have in common, our kids are in high school. Then we're going to talk about, do you have a business? Because I have a B2B, I guess, in that instance. So I want to know, do they even qualify, without saying, do you qualify? So ask a curious question around, or the meal planning example of, hey, how do you feel about meal planning? Do you do it every day? Or what's that going on? So that you can kind of direct the conversation without directing it. And then the third one is ask permission, only if and when it makes sense, to drop a link or to take it to the next step. I like to think of it as respectful dating almost, I've mentioned this before, but you're at the bar, you have your drink, someone comes up beside you, starts a conversation, and instead of saying, here's my room key, meet me there in 10, what we do instead is we say, hey, we're having a great conversation. Do you want to grab a table and get some nachos? Right? That's the next step of hey, I'm curious about you. We're at the bar. Let's get some nachos. Do you meal plan? And then at the end of the nacho meal and conversation, before I go, can I get your number? So that third part is, it's not a pitch of, hey, before I go, I've really enjoyed our chat. Can we book a coffee chat, so that we can get more in person, especially if this is an online, in the comments kind of forum or in the DMs, hey, I'd love to really connect human to human instead of just from the typewriter to the screen. Would you like to book a call with me? And then you explain what it is and ask them permission before you're dropping that link. Okay. We're not going right into stalking them on social media in real life situation. Now we're like, okay, let's just naturally, what's the next step? And I think that's going to be powerful for you, because it's going to show that you care about the person, which you should be coming to it. Curiosity, authenticity. And if you do, people will pick up on that. Or maybe you don't have a coffee chat or a discovery call or, something that makes sense in the moment, but maybe you have a freebie. You can get them onto your email list somehow, but you're giving them value. So lead magnet, freemium, whatever you call it in your world, that could be the next step. Or maybe the next step is, hey, I have a free school community. I'd love for you to join us inside. And I'd love for you to join us if this resonates. But inside, we practice visibility. And what that means is practice saying your message frequently and in different ways. And if people aren't responding to what you're putting down, maybe you need to ask a question as a post and say, hey, if I were to say this to you, what do you think I do? Our group is all about getting feedback, giving feedback, because it's a safe community to build habits of showing up and see how an average person who doesn't really know you is receiving what you're putting out there. If I had this, I had this post, I thought it was so bomb. Here's the actual visuals and the text to go with it. Would you click on this? Would you respond? Why or why not? Or if I asked you this question, how would you answer it? That's all there is, my friend. Oh, sorry, the sun is blinding me. We're going to end up. So the big takeaway is that people remember how you made them feel, not how much you talked about yourself. Say it for the people in the back again. I will say it. People remember how you made them feel, not how much you talked about yourself. Wow. So your next best relationship building action that I would like you to take is, the next time you're talking to someone, challenge yourself to ask one more follow-up question before sharing your own experience. And I know for some of us that's going to be hard because we want to tell all the things, but I want you to remember, content creates visibility, conversations create opportunities, and relationships create sales. I'll see you in the next one.